Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Another weekend, another massive recruiting weekend for the Colorado Buffaloes and Coach Prime, landing multiple commitments out of the transfer portal over the last 48, 72 hours. And I think the best way I thought to kind of cover this is kind of rank my favorite transfer portal additions, with the criteria being what's the impact that they'll have during the 2024 season for Colorado. Really excited to get into this one. Before we do, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys. Massive shout out to the Colorado Buffalo fans. It has been an extremely busy last couple of weeks for this Colorado program. I've had a blast breaking all of these commitments down. More importantly, though, the amount of support you guys continue to show to the fellas truly does mean a lot. One, if y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Much more importantly, would love to hear how you guys stack these commitments up as well. I always learn a ton from you guys in the comments section. We'll chop it up down there. And without further ado, let's get into this one. And want to start with one of my favorite players in the transfer portal. Being a Michigan fan, very familiar with this player, and that is linebacker Nikai Green, who spent the first part of his college football career at Michigan, transfers to Charlotte, has an extremely productive 2023 year, and then winds up at Colorado playing his last year of college football. And two things that you really like about Nikai Green. One, all the physical traits are there. And more importantly, you've seen him do it at the Power 5 level. A lot of the conversation we have with guys from the group of five transferring back up to the Power 4 is, can they make that transition? You don't have as many questions marks about Nikai Green making that transition because you already saw him do it at a high level for Michigan in that 2021 year. Nikai Green played a lot of football for Michigan and played at a very high level in 2021. A college football team that played in the college football playoffs, was one of the better defenses that you saw in the country. You saw him do it at a high level with this Michigan program. Struggles with injuries in 2022. Goes to Charlotte, extremely productive, 73 tackles, 9 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks. When you're evaluating transfer portal additions, there's kind of two things that I look for. One, what's the proven production look like? What have they done at their previous stops at the college football level? Nikai Green, both at Michigan and Charlotte, when healthy, has played really good football. And then you look at the physical trait side of things. Nikai Green is, that modern college football linebacker that can operate in space, can carry tight ends up the seam, go tackle running backs in the flat. He is a very athletic off-ball linebacker. And you look at the landscape of the Big 12, that is how you need your linebackers to operate. Gone are the days where you're just playing in the box as an off-ball linebacker. You got to be able to operate in space. You got to be able to get your hands in throwing windows and zone coverage. Nikai Green can do all of that. I think you combine that with probably some of the question marks that we had in that Colorado linebacker room in terms of production in 2024, in terms of the impact Nikai Green might have for this Colorado program. At the very least, I see Nikai Green being a very, very active rotational piece in that linebacker room. I think there is a phenomenal chance that Nikai Green is a starter playing a lot of reps for this Colorado defense, a guy that's done it at the Big Ten level. My favorite commitment of the weekend for the Colorado Buffaloes. Next player I want to talk about, and this one was a Friday afternoon commitment, and that is Rashad Amos, coming over, previously committed to Mississippi State, commits to Colorado. I love Rashad Amos in terms of what he brings to this Colorado program. And you look at kind of where Colorado might have struggled with their rushing attack last year. Yes, the offensive line was a problem. That's been addressed by Coach Prime. More importantly, the physicality in terms of how these running backs last year were running the football, it really wasn't up to the standard that I think Coach Prime wanted, right? Dylan Edwards, as electric as he is, and I know Colorado fans are going to miss him, he was 170 pounds. He was not a very physically imposing running back. You look at Rashad Amos, 6'2", 235. You check the film from Miami of Ohio and where he ran for over 1,000 yards, over 5 yards per carry. You take a look at some of the other numbers, 3.7 yards after contact for Rashad Amos per carry. This is a running back that plays with good pad level. He's got a thick lower half. He deals with contact extremely well. Started his career at South Carolina for the first couple of years. So a guy that is experienced at the Power 5 level as well. You look at him and Dallin Hayden and say, I feel pretty good about what this Colorado running back room looks like. Heading into 2024, you combine that with a much improved offensive line. I think you're going to see a better rushing attack for Colorado. Now, don't get it twisted. When you have Shedeur Sanders at the quarterback spot with the amount of talent that we just saw on display from that Colorado spring game, this is going to be a Colorado team that throws the ball all over the yard. But having the ability to run the football as well is going to be something that I think is a big-time asset for this Colorado program in 2024. Rashad Amos certainly going to bring that to the table. One more thing that I'd add on Rashad Amos after looking at some of the numbers, watching some of the games back, a little bit more explosive than I think a lot of people give him credit, right? 6'2", 235. You kind of assume that he's just a downhill kind of 3 yards in a cloud of dust running back. This is a guy that 32 carries, went for 10-plus yards last year. He has some juice to him. He has some wiggle at the second level. He combines that big frame with that thick lower half with some really nice juice in open space, and he's a no-nonsense back, man. He wants to get downhill, absorb contact. Big fan of Rashad Amos. If you're asking me, I think he's probably the running back one heading into the 2024 season. Big-time pickup for this Colorado Buffaloes program. Next one I want to go to, and he's probably my favorite transfer portal addition that Colorado had, but in terms of the impact in 2024, maybe you have some question marks. Zack Owens coming over from Clemson. This, to put it kind of simple, I guess you'd say, you want to bet on these kind of guys. I mean, 6'6", 375. You go back to him at the high school level, a guy that I was a massive fan of coming out of the state of Georgia, big, physically imposing offensive lineman that just the sheer size of him really eats up opposing defensive linemen. He's a roller skater during his free time. The coordination, the athleticism for that size of a body is extremely impressive. Didn't play a ton as a true freshman at Clemson. Not sure if he'll start for Colorado. One of my favorite attributes that Zack Owens is going to bring is not only depth, but versatility. This is a guy that could probably stick in at guard for you, could probably play tackle with the size, the length, and athleticism that he has. One of the things we talked about for Colorado going into 2024 was not just a revamped first-team offensive line. It's what does the depth look like on this offensive line? I think Zack Owens provides a little bit more of that depth heading into 2024. You want to go into a season 9-10 offensive linemen that you trust to play at a high level on the offensive line. Zack Owens probably going to make that list for this Colorado program, but more importantly, the upside on this kid, he's going to be a redshirt freshman for Colorado this year. I think the upside is extremely high for this Colorado program. Really like how they're addressing the offensive line. Last player I want to talk about, you added a guy in Wyatt Hummel from Villanova who I'm a fan of. Don't know a ton about him because he plays at Villanova, and I'll say this, hand up, don't watch a ton of Villanova football. Colton Hood was another really interesting addition for this Colorado program, similar to Zack Owens, young guy that's going into his redshirt freshman year. He might be a true sophomore because he played a little bit for Auburn in that 2023 season. Colton Hood, going back to the high school ranks, really, really good two-way player from the state of Georgia. You turn on the game from Maryland in the bowl game for Auburn as Colton Hood was a true freshman, and you say, this is a guy that is showing me something. Now, again, I don't think he starts in this Colorado secondary because of how loaded and deep I think you are at that cornerback spot. This is a guy that certainly can get on the field in different moments for this Colorado program. But more importantly, you start talking about 2025, 2026, this is going to be a player that you can really trust for Colorado heading into the next couple of years for this program. I think Coach Prime doing something that not enough people probably give him credit for, and that is he is not only addressing current needs for this Colorado program, he's also using the transfer portal to kind of build for the future. I think most people's questions about Colorado, I think there are a lot of people who have confidence in Colorado to be good in 2024. I think the question is, what does this team look like in 2025 and 2026 if you're going to be that transfer portal heavy? A lot of these guys, Colton Hood, Zack Owens, they're only going to be second-year players at the college football level. They have plenty of eligibility remaining to be molding pieces and building blocks for this Colorado program over the next couple of years. You make no mistake about it. Coach Prime is not only trying to win football games in 2024. He wants to win games in 2025, 2026. These are the type of commitments that are going to help him do that Those are my top 4 from the weekend. We've talked about the guys from previous weekends. Would love to hear from you all in the comments section. Let me have it there. We'll chop it up, and I appreciate you guys rocking with it. And we'll talk to y'all later.